oh yeah, over the weekend I took a helicopter ride to Bali with my friend.
All right.
Right,
Okay.
Okay, this is not my gang then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a certain level of embarrassment that comes with actually saying that out.
Yeah.
Say like, hey, if you can't afford it, then like don't do it or
Yeah.
don't go. Might sound really like crass to say, but that's just like leech behavior, right? Like
There's no point working, saving, and sacrificing so much for the future.
Yeah.
And then foregoing everything now. I just don't
Yeah.
think it's worth it. You have
just
to
like
find
being
that balance.
miserable for like 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Money Goal. My name is Emir and I have Yasmin again with me today. How are you, Yasmin?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, another problem today, I assume.
Yes,
Not
another
that good
problem.
then. Okay.
Yeah, it's not that good.
Okay.
But hopefully you can help me again.
Okay,
So,
let's do
social life, social life stuff. So like, I don't go out every single day to go hang out with my friends, but
Yep.
like, of course, I try to find like a work-life balance. So,
For sure.
yeah, so I do like to spend time with my friends, like especially during the weekends, just to de-stress and relax.
Yep.
So whether it's like a karaoke night or like just like hanging out like at a restaurant
Okay.
or playing pickleball or whatever,
Yep.
But what I've been finding is that obviously because I want to go do these things, like I want to do activities. Like I don't want to just like hang out
Hang
at
around,
like
do
someone's
nothing.
house or have people over at like my house. Like I actually want to go out and like, do stuff. So like how do I guess get to do all of that without overspending?
Okay, but are you spending too much now? You're okay.
I mean, I feel like I'm still okay, but I think the potential to like tip over is like always there. You know
For
what
sure,
I mean?
yeah.
Because like again, it's like activity after activity after activity, right? So like, I mean, at the moment it's like, yeah, sports stuff, and honestly, that can really accumulate, right?
Yeah.
Like going to like, yeah, renting out like a pickle court.
Yeah,
You know?
pickleball is so expensive as well.
Yeah, that's the thing.
yeah.
That's not something I didn't think it would be as expensive as I thought.
Right.
And like there are people who are like fighting for these like
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy.
It is insane.
Paddle is even more expensive.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think pickleball is like $70 an hour. Paddle is
Right.
like $150
Yeah.
an hour, which is crazy. But anyway.
And do you want to talk about your golfing as well?
No, I don't play golf. I play three sports.
But yeah, I mean, like even things like that where it's like you want to do a group activity. So like naturally a lot of people think about sports and yeah, it costs something, right?
Okay, so I think first of all, spending money on experiences or hanging out with friends, I think, is one of the best ways to spend money, right? Compared to being more materialistic
I agree.
and just buying stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess to each their own, but for me, I would rather spend it hanging out with friends. But of course, it can get too much, which again then just goes back to managing your budget and stuff like that. But I think one of the biggest factors when it comes to overspending in social events is the crowd that you hang out with. Right, so
Interesting.
yeah. So the good thing is, my group of friends, they are a bit more.
Chill.
Yeah, they're a bit more chill. They don't like to spend too much money. They're a bit more, penny pinching. Which I mean, it's not that it's bad, but at least we get to do things cheap, right? We get to do free things. So our best sessions are actually just lepaking at the mama.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of times we just lepak at the mama, and it doesn't cost a lot, right? We just order food, order drinks, and then we just sit there for the whole night, completely free. Or sometimes we would just play games. I guess this is more of a guy thing. Games, it's actually pretty cheap because you buy it once and then you spend so much time playing it.
Yeah.
So that's cheap. But I know that sometimes people get a bit, I guess, influenced or pushed by their friends to, do the more expensive things, right? Wait, what's that pickleball place called in KLGC? Pickle Social Club or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a more atas place. People take
Right.
pictures, and then the restaurants are like fancy 40 ringgit meals. So I think some people, they can't afford it, but because their circle of friends are people who either can afford it, who they're just more reckless with money, so they tend to go to these more expensive places. And I think that's when things get a bit bad, right? I've had this experience as well in uni. It's a bit crazy. But for real, this was like early on in uni days, and I was trying to find my group of friends, my gang back then, right? Everybody was new, people didn't really know each other. So I started hanging out with this group of people. And then I remember one long weekend, we all came back after the long weekend, and then one of them were like, oh yeah, over the weekend I took a helicopter ride to Bali with my friend.
All right.
Right,
Okay.
Okay, this is not my gang then.
Okay.
Yeah, but I really think choosing friends, I know it sounds a bit weird, but choosing friends that are within the same sort of level of as you when it comes to your income and your affordability and stuff, I think it's very important. I think hanging around too much with people that either like to spend too much money or spend more than you can afford can be very bad. Yeah, so I think that's one thing that people need to look out for. I've made a video about this. I know it sounds very weird, right? But I think choosing your friends is one of the most important things in personal finance. So choosing your partner is probably number one because your partner, you do everything with them. But your friends, I think they matter as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think there is like a certain peer pressure that you feel, especially if you're hanging out again with like what you said, right? A group of friends that maybe can afford to, take a helicopter to
over the
Bali.
weekend. Yeah, I mean,
And
casual.
like, and for yourself that you just can't do that, right? But there's this, I guess, especially people like in our generation, like we feel that FOMO quite a bit, so we like want to be a part of the
You want to fit in, right?
Yeah, but then at the same time, like we can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think peer pressure is quite a huge issue with like our generation.
It is. Yeah, I actually know people, so it's not just about hanging out at expensive places, right? It gets to the point where if all of your friends are driving nice German cars, I know people who are like, to fit in, I need to have a nice car as well. So it goes to that extent, which I think is really bad. Because of course, like if you do one-off karaoke, pickleball, expensive places, or an expensive night out, it hurts, but it's not the end of the world. But when you get to the level where I need to have a similar kind of car to them, even though I can't afford it, then I think that's when it gets really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also, you're right. That's where it gets like really dangerous because, I mean, at the moment, like, I feel like, I want to like, go to this restaurant in the center of KL or whatever. But then like, you don't want to get to the point of like, I want this particular car or this particular house or this particular kind of holiday.
Just to fit in, right?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like if your friend can afford the Maldives, that's cool. And if you can't, there's so many options, honestly.
Yeah.
Like the Maldives is not the only option that there is if you want to go on a beach holiday, right? For example. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think it all comes down to choosing your friends, right? If, for example, they want to do expensive things and you still want to hang out with them, you can always just propose, hey, but I don't really have money this time around, or I'm a bit tight this month. Can we do something a bit cheaper?
Maybe there's like a certain level of embarrassment that comes with actually saying that out.
Yeah, I guess so. But I would then say my next point to that was that if you feel embarrassed for not being able to afford it, or if you feel embarrassed or they make fun of you because of the car you have compared to theirs, then
those are not your friends.
Exactly. Is that really the right kind of friends you want to hang around, right? Yeah, I think that's the important distinction here. Because if they were really your friends, right? If someone grew up with you, let's say from childhood, and they really understood you, I doubt they'll be like, oh, if you can't afford this, then what are you doing? Aren't you working? Blah 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 blah.
And like just piggybacking on that as well, I actually knew someone like I don't really know him anymore, but a couple years back, he lives quite like a simple life. He doesn't really have like a full-time job. He has like a part-time job, and he was a part of a group of friends who, they were like finance bros. They were they were in like crypto or they were in consultancy, so they could afford like a lot more. And he obviously just could not afford to do some of the things that they wanted to do. And it got to the point where like his friends would actually pay for a lot of the things that for him. And I personally started feeling like as though he started taking advantage of that. Because at first they were just paying for meals. Again, just really like simple stuff, like belanja lah, belanja makanan. But then eventually they started paying for flight tickets. And that's what I started finding out about. They were paying for flight tickets, paying for train tickets. And then so his group of friends didn't live in KL. And whenever he wanted to go visit them in London, they would pay for all of that, and he would stay with them. And the thing is, he wouldn't stay for like a week. He would stay for like a month, 2 months. Yeah. And essentially not contribute to their rent like whatsoever. And he would do this multiple times a year.
And they were fine with it? They were just...
No, they weren't fine with it. But again, it had accumulated. Like they had been, I guess, putting in a little, doing these like simple little things along the way as the years go by. And then eventually it just grew and grew into that.
Yep.
And I remember I did say like, hey, you know, if you can't afford it, then like don't do it, or don't go, or like, you know, like why do you have to go to London?
I get what you mean.
Yeah. And he was just like, well, I mean, they're willing, they're offering.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you like take advantage of that kindness? Maybe the first time, second time, but like for me as well, it's like, how do you, after a certain point, like how can you ask for them to
pay
finance
stuff,
essentially like fund your life? You're asking for help to fund a life that you currently don't have the means to have. Just to keep up with your friends.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I feel like if it was let's say bachelor's party, one-off, and one person can afford it, and okay, fine, we'll help you pitch it, and then it's fine. It's a one-off thing. But if it gets to a consistent thing, I mean, one is like you said, they are taking advantage of other people. But number two, even if, let's say your friends are willing to pay for all of these kind of things, you'll get accustomed to that lifestyle. And when you're not with them, how can you then suddenly, how can you go from fine dining lunch with my friends to dinner at, Gerai Tepi Jalan? Your whole lifestyle sort of goes up artificially, not from your own income or from your own cash flow, whatever it is. It's from other people. So in the end of the day, it won't be sustainable, right?
I mean, I thought that was something that was really scary, but that particular person and that particular group of friends, that's just how they function like that for like quite a few years now.
And it's still ongoing?
I don't actually know. I don't actually know if it's ongoing, but I hope that it's not ongoing, because like really simply put, and it might sound really like crass to say, but that's just like leech behavior, right? You have friends who are kind enough to, buy things for you here and there, but then because you've set yourself up for failure, right? Like you said, artificially created this lifestyle for yourself that you can't even sustain. Like having that peer pressure. It's just that particular dynamic, his friends were like willing to fund that lifestyle. So
that's probably a one-off though. I think for most people, I would say don't get pushed into it and then pay for it yourself if you can't afford it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess in that vein then, how do we stay away from like all of that? How can we budget for ourselves without, I guess, sacrificing too much on our social life? Because like I think it is important to have a social life of some sort.
I agree.
Work hard, play hard. Not work hard, play harder. I don't agree with work hard, play harder, but work hard, play hard, right? You got to reward yourself. And
I mean, social life is still super important, right? There's no point just working. I always say there's no point working, saving, and sacrificing so much for the future, and then foregoing everything now. I just don't think it's worth it. You have
just
to
like being miserable for like 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. And then after 30 years, you're like, what am I going to do now? I have no friends. I don't know how to do anything. Right? So I guess finding that balance is all about priority. So how much you want to allocate towards entertainment, leisure, hanging out with friends, social life is completely up to you. It depends on how much you prioritize it, right? Some people will say, hey, my friends are all very chill. Our sessions are very cheap, so I don't have to put too much budget there. Whereas if you know that your friends like to spend a lot, then you have to think, are you willing to sacrifice other things to keep up with them? For example, maybe spend less on food, eat cheaper on normal working days, stop drinking coffee, right? All these things. It's all about prioritizing, where you allocate your money towards.
And I think like like something that's really important as well is to just be like honest with your friends.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel embarrassed if you can't afford like a particular, I don't know, like a weekend getaway,
Yeah.
you know, for that particular month. I think that's a conversation that's worth having with your friends. And I hope that your friends don't judge you as well for not being able to go on that holiday or go for that event or whatever have you, right?
Yep.
And if they judge you, then
Find another group of friends.
that's it. Anyway, so there are some stories that I want to get into
Okay, let's get to it.
already. So the first one is every week after work, my colleagues would ask, "Jom makan keluar?"
Okay.
I didn't want to be the odd one out, so I always said yes. First it was dinner, then dessert, then karaoke, all in one night. By the end of the month, I checked my banking app and nearly fainted. 600 ringgit gone just from lepak sessions.
Okay. That's a
That
lot.
was more than half my rent. I realized I was spending more to keep up appearances than for my own enjoyment. And these days, I still hang out, but I plan ahead. If I know I've got one big night out, I skip the other small outings. Sometimes I even suggest cheaper options like potluck at someone's house. Surprisingly, my friends were relieved as well. Turns out I wasn't the only one feeling the pinch. What's a polite way to say no to friends without feeling guilty? And how can you set limits without killing the fun?
Okay. Honestly, when it comes to how to say no without feeling guilty, I don't know. Maybe you can answer that. I'm not sure. But I would say, don't be afraid to say no.
Yeah,
I think a lot of
that's a good
people feel, I don't know, guilt or, you feel like a party pooper by saying no. But if you can't afford it, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with saying no.
Yeah.
If you really can't do it, just say no. I don't know how to say
Yeah.
it politely.
Yeah.
No.
No, just say no.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at the story as well. Just because you can't do it this like particular month doesn't mean that you can't do it next month or like the month after. If you know that, okay, you and your friends want to go on like a trip, then like save in advance. Like it doesn't have to happen there and then,
Yeah.
right? So it may not be a solid no. It's just a
Yep.
no for now, right?
Yep.
And-
Actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So I have this friend. Okay, fine. I have been playing golf, and I have this friend who is a bit more of a fresh grad, I guess. And sometimes I'll be like, "Hey, let's go to the course this weekend." It's like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And then during the week, I'll be like, "Hey, let's go to the range," and he'd be like, if you want me to go to the course this weekend, then I can't go to the range because I need to save money for that. So I think that approach is right. You don't have to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Just like you said, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it may be a no for now, but
Yeah.
like it might be a no. It might be a yes like next week or the week after that. So there isn't any need to like feel that FOMO. And also if you discuss like with your friends, right? Like, hey, there's just been a lot going on recently. Like, why don't we all just like chill like this week and then like we go again next week? Honestly, I think that's
It'll work.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Alrighty, second story. When my uni friends planned a short trip, I didn't want to be left behind. They were all excited and I didn't want to be the only one saying no. So I went along, swiping my card for hotels, transport, food, and activities. By the time I came home, the trip had cost me almost 900 ringgit.
Okay.
Instead of feeling refreshed, I came back broke, anxious, and dreading the next credit card bill. Now, I've learned to be honest. If I can't afford a trip, I just tell my friends up front. Sometimes I suggest alternatives like a local day trip or just a picnic. True friends will understand, and honestly, the memories matter more than the fancy hotels or Instagram shots.
Yeah.
How do you decide which social events or trips are worth spending on and which ones to skip? Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like, I think they're all worth it.
I think this one is it's a personal.
Yeah, it's a personal
thing,
preference
right?
thing,
It
right?
really depends on what you guys.
And also,
think
like,
is
how
personal.
often are you guys going on holiday?
Yeah,
Like,
I
you gotta
know, I know.
prioritize like which ones. I mean, if you're going on holiday like once a month or like once every 2 months, then you gotta like evaluate.
Your entire life, that's too much.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
feel like even with this, just based on this story, right? They said they went on holiday and then now they're 900 bucks in the hole because they didn't want to say no. I think first of all, it's good. It's just 900 bucks. Like it's not the end of the world. You can recover from that. Make sacrifices for the next 3 months or
Well,
whatever.
I mean, it
just to pay
depends.
off.
If it's 900 ringgit to Bentong, then you've messed up.
You paid way too.
You've really messed up.
Yep. But I feel like with these things, I mean, surely you would know in advance, right? You would know in advance. So just start saving towards it.
Yeah.
Or start having a separate fund for your holidays.
Yeah.
If you know that your friends like to do these things,
Yeah.
just set a separate fund. Always be prepared for it rather than, live your life like normal without any savings. And then when your friends want to go on holiday, you're like, oh, I gotta swipe my card, You can always just plan these things ahead.
No, absolutely. I'm going on a trip with my friend to China next year. And
You've been saving for it.
I've just been saving for it, even though it's like next year.
Yeah.
I'm also not the kind of person to sort of like do like a spontaneous like girls trip to like Bangkok, like in 2 weeks time. Like I don't do that. And honestly, if I was offered that, going for like a trip to Bangkok in like 2 weeks, or like planning a trip to China like next year, I would take that trip to China next year for sure. Because I think that's something that is an experience that's almost irreplaceable. Whereas like that 2 week, the trip to Bangkok in 2 weeks time or whatever, it just feels like just like a weekend getaway.
Yeah.
And that weekend getaway doesn't have to be in Bangkok.
Yeah.
If you still want to do a weekend getaway, you can do one within the country, or you can find like an alternative, right?
Yep.
Do like a staycation or like whatever. But like my trip to China, that's worth it to me lah. That's worth it.
There we go, prioritization, right? I think it's impossible for example, I can't tell you which one is more important, right? So it's completely up to you guys. You just got to decide for yourself and then stick to your budget, right? Of course, if you can afford both, go for it. But if you can't, then you got to decide which one's more important to you.
Alrighty, well, before we wrap things up, I suppose, like, do you have any like last pieces of advice and like, how to deal with friends and how to deal with balancing that like fun aspect and like your finances?
Fiscally responsible. I guess just to wrap it all up, first of all, like I said, I think social life is important. To me, it's one of the best ways to spend your money. But you also need to be realistic, with your budget, right? It really depends on how much you're earning, how much you can afford to spend, and don't be afraid to say no, right? You don't have to say yes to everything. You can just say no. If you feel like your friends are being a bit too pushy, or if you feel like they are spending a bit too much, just speak to them about it. Most of the times, I would say they probably would understand where you're coming from, and if you don't, or if they don't, then find new friends. They're probably not good for you. Right, cool. Thanks, Yasmin.
All right,
nice talking to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys don't get too tempted by your friends to take that trip every single month. See you guys in the next one.